coffee, and a treat. And we'll learn about the original intent of Mother's Day and the ongoing work of participatory democracy. You'll walk away with concrete actions you can take from the UU The Vote and other organizations voting for voting justice. And next Tuesday, not like the slide is incorrect, it's actually next Tuesday, May 7th, the Contemporary Issues Forum in Parish Hall will feature renowned neuroscientist Dr. Kenneth Kosick, the Harriman Professor of Neuroscience Research and co-director of the Neuroscience Research Institute of UC Santa Barbara, and he will be speaking about Alzheimer's. It's going to be quite interesting. And now, settle into your spot, take a deep breath, and a moment to arrive fully in this sacred space.
Good morning. Our chalice lighting today is regarding spiritual growth. Spiritual growth is the process in which you awaken to your true self, not the outer circumstances and experiences that you've defined yourself by, but by the truth of who you really are. Calvin Coolidge said, "We do not need more intellectual power. We need more spiritual power. We do not need more of the things that are seen. We need more of the things that are unseen."
We take a moment each Sunday to acknowledge something good that is happening this week. The practice is a time to lift up a good thing that has happened in the midst of all that is going on. I invite you to think of something you have seen or heard this week that you would consider a good thing. If you are online and want to share it, you can post it in the chat. And if you are here in person, you can share it at coffee hour. It's a sure way to start a good conversation. Today, I want to share that the Santa Barbara Education Foundation held its 6th annual Keep the Beat instrument drive. The campaign garnered 40 instrument donations from the community. Community members were asked to donate gently used instruments so that they may be repurposed and distributed to the Santa Barbara Unified School District. In addition to instruments, the event raised $18,000 in funds for the program. And that's good news for the Santa Barbara students. And now, would you please rise, embody your spirit, and join in singing our opening hymn, Morning Has Broken.
Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the word. Sweet the rain's new fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness where God's feet pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning,
So, this is the first Sunday of May, and because it's the first Sunday of May, that means that we get to celebrate all of the May birthdays. I invite all of you who are born in this month and want to come up, now is the time. Come on up, May babies, and if there's anyone online who has a birthday that they would like to celebrate, feel free to type it into the chat. All right, come on up. All right, we are going to pass the microphone down the line, and you can say your name or the day and the day that you were born. You can claim all your years if you'd like, but you don't have to. I have two to start out with. Maxine Aptke is celebrating her birthday in May, and Charlotte Little isn't here in person today, but she will be celebrating 88 years tomorrow. Oh, Charlene.
I'm Eric Kruger, and I'm 57 today.
Don't look a day over 56.
I'm Rolf Brinkman, and I'll be, how old was I, 79 on May 18th.
I'm Kathleen Boehm, and next Sunday, May 12th, is my 76th.
I'm Sue Fisher, and yesterday I was 88. Can you believe it?
I'm Ellen Anderson, and I will be 72 on May 10th, 1952 is when I was born.
I'm Lynn Dow, and I will be 80 on May 9th.
I'm Sue Hebert, and I'll be 89 on the 25th.
I'm Joe Magistad, and I'm going to be 94 on the 17th.
There we go.
Oh my goodness, what a beloved tradition this is. This is so, so sweet. So, please join me in sending love and care to these folks and everyone who is celebrating a birthday this month. May this year unfold for you with joy and health and happiness. May you have friends to laugh with during the good times and cry with you during the hard times. The world is a richer place because you are in it. Happy birthday.
All those that are young and young of heart, come up for the story of all ages. Oh, thanks, guys. I didn't want to be alone. We're gonna check IDs. All right, we're gonna open up with a question, and the question: how many of you can whistle? Okay, let's see it. Give me a big one. Oh man, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. You can whistle too? All right. Can't whistle? Not yet. I learned to whistle when I was 10. I was a late developer, but I'm making up for it. All right, this is a story called Whistle for Willie. And it is by Ezra Jack Keats. Oh, how Peter wished he could whistle. He saw a boy playing with his dog, However, the boy whistled and the dog ran straight to him. Peter tried and tried to whistle, but he couldn't. So instead, he began to turn himself around and around and around he whirled, faster and faster. When he stopped, everything turned down and up and down and around and around and around. Peter saw his dog Willie. Quick as a wink, he hid an empty carton laying on the sidewalk. Wouldn't it be funny if I whistled? Peter thought. Willie would stop and look around to see who it was. Peter tried again to whistle, but he couldn't. So Willie just walked on. Peter got out of the carton and started home. On the way, he took some colored chalks out of his pocket and drew a long, long line right up to his door. He stood there and tried to whistle again. He blew until his cheeks were tired, but nothing happened. He went into his house and put on his father's old hat to make himself feel more grown up. He looked into the mirror to practice whistling. Still no whistle. When his mother saw what he was doing, Peter pretended to be his father. He said, "I've come home early today, dear. Is Peter here?" His mother answered, "Why, no. He's outside with Willie." "Well, I'll go out and look for him," said Peter. First, he walked along a crack in the sidewalk, and then he tried to run away from his shadow. He jumped off his shadow, and when he landed, they were together again. Incredible. He came to the corner where the carton was, and who should he see but Willie? Peter scrambled under the carton. He blew and he blew and he blew, and suddenly out came a real whistle. Willie stopped and looked around to see who it was. "It's me," Peter shouted, and stood up, and Willie raced straight toward him. Peter ran home to show his father and mother what he could do. They loved Peter's whistling. So did Willie. Peter's mother asked him and Willie to go on an errand to the grocery store. Willie whistled all the way there, and he whistled all the way home. The end. So how many now can whistle? Can you whistle? We'll practice. All right. Can we sing our children out?
Behold you in a love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go. To nurture the spark of your precious life. Behold you in a love as you go.
Hola y buenos días. Feliz Cinco de Mayo, in case anybody has forgotten what day it is today. In 2009, my boss called me from Massachusetts and asked if I would meet him in our Santa Barbara office the following day. This was at the height of the Great Recession, and knowing your boss was at the airport to take a 2,500-mile flight for a morning meeting with me is never a good sign. We met the following morning, and as expected, he let me know that the software business we worked for was going to be shut down. He explained all the legal details, wished me well, and said he wished it didn't have to be that way. He then got on a plane and flew back to Massachusetts. A few days later, I got a call from my mentor and great friend, Rita Foley, who had heard the news and suggested that I take some time off to catch my breath. "There'll be other opportunities," she said, "and you can wait, but first take the time to be good to yourself and let events beyond your control play out." Rita also happened to be a Unitarian, so this was very comforting. Rita suggested that I participate in a retreat she was running in Santa Fe, New Mexico, for executives who found themselves in the same situation I was in. She called it a forced sabbatical, and were searching for what was next in their careers, but most importantly, what was next in their lives. The 3-day retreat was called Reboot Your Life and was based on the tenets of Julia Cameron's book, The Artist Way. It incorporated 2 major elements of her writings: morning pages, a 3-page top-of-mind writing exercise every day, and the artist's date, a date with yourself to explore something that was far afield from your regular routine. The seminar really clicked with me. I kept doing morning pages for years, writing each morning while the coffee brewed. On an artist's date, I discovered beekeeping and fencing. I kept bees for a few years, but I was the oldest by 50 years in the fencing class, so after 2 lessons, I figured out it wasn't for me. These practices helped me transition from the world of high-tech sales and sales management to going to city colleges for classes and to my last best career, real estate, and to participating in the work of nonprofits beyond the Unitarian Society. After 15 years, I still keep up with the people on the retreat, and look back, we realize how important the experience was in turning the corner in our lives. Now, for those that don't know me very well, or those that do, spirituality is probably not the first thing that comes to mind. Prayer, meditation, reflection, and other spiritual practices are not my strong points. So imagine my surprise when I learned that I had been performing spiritual practices on a regular basis, and that it was allowing me to age gracefully, or more gracefully than I might have. Daily, consistent practice. And then the consistency slipped away. I slowly got away from morning pages and artist states. I got away from writing 3 pages every day, and over time gave up the bees as too much work. Neither were overt actions. Rather, I drifted away from the discipline and found the time spent on these practices filled now with what seemed to be more urgent tasks. The sense of urgency was no longer there. Good habits require consistency. To be good at something requires practice, repetition, and courage. Only then do we achieve what I call conscious competency, being knowingly good at what you do. As Peter learns in our story for all ages, whistling is tricky to nail down. When one attempts to whistle does not work, he keeps trying until he finds a new and creative way to accomplish his goal. He gets knowingly better at whistling. More importantly, he does not give up on his dream. Life is like whistling. It's tricky stuff, and I want to live it to the fullest. I want to be like Peter and explore new things around me and the world around me with an inquisitive eye and an open heart. And if I want to get knowingly good at it, I need to practice. So as I begin to dig out of the COVID doldrums, I have returned to some of those intentional practices in my life. I start by taking care of me. I began to see a therapist to address those nagging issues I kept putting off all these years. I recommitted to ushering, my calling, on a monthly basis. I joined the worship's art team where they allowed me to expand my comfort zone in so many ways. And I become involved with the LGBTQ equality as an ally through PFLAG. I still need to get back to the morning pages, but have started artist dating again. When Debbie asked if there was anything special I wanted for my birthday, which was last month, I said, I want a weather station. You know, the kind that sits on the roof and has all the bells and whistles to track the temperature and the humidity and the wind. And a few days later, it came in the mail. And within hours, I put it together, ready to be mounted on a roof to catch and record all of the elements. I pulled a ladder out of the garage, and with the weather station in hand, I scampered up and mounted on the roof. The transition point between the ladder and the roof reminded me that I wasn't as nimble as I once was. And as I crawled on all fours to get away from the edge, that's when I began to get upright and slowly work my way to the chimney. I then noticed how my balance had changed since the last time I was on the roof. Peering over the roof's edge, or transitioning from roof to ladder now becomes an adventure I don't relish. Safely on the ground, I promised myself I wouldn't go on the roof again unless Debbie was home, and recommitted to an artist day to learn about balance and Tai Chi. Being on the roof reminds me that life can be precarious, and as you get closer to the edge, more uncertain. If you're on the roof, be prepared. Ah, but the view. Thank you.
Please remain seated and join me in singing meditative hymn number 352, Find a Stillness.
Find a stillness, hold a stillness, let the stillness carry me. Find the silence, hold the silence, let the silence carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony. Seek the essence, hold the essence, let the essence carry me. Let me flower, help me flower, watch me flower, carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony.
It may be unconscious, or you might have noticed consciously that there are many invitations within our service to settle, become more present, still, and set aside your worries for a few minutes. Ringing the bell, Heather's beautiful piano music, words, hymns, singing of the choir, and invitations to breathe are some of the places we are encouraged to breathe our connection to ourselves, beauty, and this time together. And so now, in this present moment, I invite you to go even a little deeper. Consciously take some full breaths. Feel the weight of your body in the chair, on the earth. And if thoughts arise, notice them and let them pass. Breathe for a couple minutes, and I will ring the bowl at the end.
This month's offering celebrates Transition House. Transition House is dedicated to the solution of family homelessness in the Santa Barbara community. Capable and motivated families with children are offered life tools and respectful, non-sectarian residential services designed to alleviate poverty and restore self-sufficiency and dignity. Transition House was founded by a consortium of 12 faith communities, along with the support of local agencies in 1984. For 40 years, Transition House Community Supports continues with over 40 services or faith-based organizations and over 500 plus volunteers donating their time and talents each year. Area Emergents help by donating time, materials, and contributions to the agency efforts. Many businesses also offering meaningful employment with benefits to the residents of Transition House. Santa Barbara's compassion, generosity, and commitment to its neighbors will continue to support Transition House efforts in the years to come. Please join me to saying the affirmation of gratitude and giving. Let us be grateful when we are able to give. So many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for those that share their gifts with us, for we are enriched by their giving. And let us be grateful even for our needs, so that we may learn from the generosity of others.
Thank you, choir. That was so beautiful and joyous, even from sitting behind you. That was wonderful. Thank you. I begin with a reading, Meditation on a Grapefruit by Craig Arnold. To wake when all is possible, before the agitations of the day have gripped you, to come to the kitchen and peel a little basketball for breakfast, to tear the husk like cotton padding, a cloud of oil misting out of its pinprick pores, clean and sharp as pepper, to ease each pale pink section out of its case so carefully without breaking a single pearly cell, to slide each piece into a cool blue china bowl, the juice pooling until the whole fruit is divided from its skin, and only then to eat. So sweet a discipline, precisely pointless, a devout involvement of the hands and senses, a pause, a little emptiness. Each year harder to live within, each year harder to live without. Spiritual practices have always been at the heart and soul of the world's religions. Spiritual practices are specific activities we do to deepen our relationships with the sacred and the world around us. They help us discover and rediscover our deepest values, addressing our longing to connect with the divine and propel us on a journey to wholeness. And they enable us to become actively engaged with our inner or true self, the depth of our being. A spiritual practice can be that thing that we do that helps us to hear our inner voice amongst all the distractions and demands of our lives that keep us from being present and feel the sacredness in and of our lives. It helps us tune into the humanness of those around us and feel both the joy and the grief of our lives. In this world where busyness, achievement mentality, and technology overwhelms us and keeps us disconnected and numb, spiritual practice can be what helps us stay connected. And we practice all kinds of things whether we intend to or not. Jewish writer Avram Davis observed, "We are what we practice. If we become angry a lot, then essentially we are practicing anger. And we get quite good at it. Conversely, if we practice being joyful, then a joyful person is what we become." If we are practicing all the time, what kind of practice is useful? What does it mean to see our lives through a lens orientated towards process rather than productivity? Several years ago on my path to ministry, although I had a basic understanding of spiritual practices and what mine were, they weren't clearly defined and they were often inconsistent. They became more intentional and very formative to my path when I first took my first session of a spiritual deepening program called UU Wellspring. This is a program that was created by ministers for Unitarian Universalists. The program typically lasts about 8 months in a cohort of 8 to 10 people. And they're cohorts who seek to learn more about faith, what they believe, share their ideas in small groups, and practice deep listening. Each session includes readings, music, and sharing. Everyone commits to their own spiritual practices between meetings, and a twice-monthly check-in encourages accountability. Each group creates a covenant which lays a foundation of trust and a safe place for the soul to show up, as Parker Palmer says. The creation of a covenant strengthens the bond within the group. I struggled with identifying a practice that I could do regularly. As I went back to the group and shared that I had let my practice wane, I found it amazing and reassuring that we shared many of the same struggles. Instead of feeling like a failure and that spiritual practice just doesn't work for me, there was an encouragement to shift, try something else, and be easy on myself. We could give that grace to each other in the midst of accountability. Over time, I began facilitating Wellspring groups, and I enjoyed watching others discover the value of a consistent and meaningful spiritual practice and how it can become a source of sustenance and a touchstone to find peace in our busy lives. Spiritual practice has another role to help sustain us in the hard times. Consistent spiritual practice serves as an anchor in the stormy seas of life, offering grounding and strength in times of trial. Regular practice every day, or as often as possible, gives us a tool that can be a support when things are challenging. They are not things to do only when you have time to spare, like a retreat or merely an occasional outing, like going to a museum. They are not just therapies to obtain when needed, like a massage. They are all-purpose disciplines, ideally performed on a daily basis with immediate value in the moment and transformative impact over time as their effects on the mind, body, and spirit accumulate. Through these practices of awareness, presence, and surrender, we learn to embrace our struggles as opportunities for growth, trusting in the inherent goodness of existence. In searching for a practice that has the right fit for the moment we are in life, our needs, and growing edges, common practices might come to mind. Meditation, prayer, yoga, creating art, and making music are some. And they can be much more varied than that. In fact, anything we do intentionally and with presence can be a spiritual practice. Knitting, gardening, walking, chopping vegetables, sipping morning tea or coffee, cooking, writing, or writing in a gratitude journal. The list is endless. A spiritual practice does not have to be hard. It rewards presence, not effort. Some practices do yield an outcome, but many are done simply for their own sake. And practice does not make perfect. Don't expect to overcome all your weaknesses and fix all your problems. Indeed, difficulties are to be expected and can be used as lessons on your journey. Practice is just what it says, practice. It is the opportunity to strengthen that muscle, but it doesn't mean that it will need to be perfect. It doesn't happen, the day gets busy, the kids derail your best intentions. It doesn't mean that it is a failure, as I found in my Wellspring groups. And my struggles were also happening to others. Practice is a process, and it changes over time. You may make a commitment to do a specific activity for years, or you may get what you need from it quickly and be ready to move on. I'm focusing on the value of spiritual practice as a way to bring more peace into our lives. Individual spiritual practices are only one aspect, and another day we will examine the power of collective spiritual practices. Over the next few weeks, I invite you to be curious and consider what your spiritual practice may be. You may have a wonderfully established one. It might be one that you do intentionally and without having recognized it. Or this may be an opportunity to try a new one. The goal is to do it with regularity and notice what it is like without judgment. Sometimes the practice connects us to what I like to think of as flow. I love running, and when I run, my focus becomes super concentrated. I can be very present with my breath and my feet pounding on the earth. Sometimes ideas and feelings that were pushed aside because of the day-to-day busyness are uncovered, and I can hear them. I consider that the voice of my soul. Practice is about finding ways to connect to the deepest sense of ourselves, that part that I think of as soul. That connection cannot happen unless we are quiet, listening, and undistracted. What Quaker author Parker Palmer says about the soul is that it is like a wild animal, tough, self-sufficient, resilient, but also exceedingly shy. Let us remember that if we go crashing through the woods, screaming and yelling for the soul to come out, it will evade us all day and all night. We cannot beat the bushes and yell at each other if we expect that precious inwardness to emerge. But if you are willing to go into the woods and sit quietly at the base of a tree, that wild animal will, after a few hours, reveal itself to you. And out of the corner of your eye, you will get a glimpse of the wild preciousness that you seek. The scary, maddening, tension-packed times that we live in virtually require regular practice. I say this for two reasons. The first is self-preservation. When times are tough, we need healing, rejuvenation, nourishment, and sustenance on every level, or else the despair and anxiety that arises will grow. We need periods of silence to counter the incessant noise. We need some inner peace as barriers to life's stresses. It's like the shoes that we wear that keep us from feeling the ground, but when we take them off and walk on the earth, we feel the softness of the sand and the coolness of the shade beneath a tree. Spiritual practice is not an indulgence in turbulent times. It is a necessity to connect to who we really are. Thich Nhat Hanh made the point with grace when he said, "The miracle is not to walk on water. The miracle is to walk on the green earth in the present moment, to appreciate the beauty and peace that are available now. It is not a matter of faith, it is a matter of practice." Please join me in prayer. Spirit of life and love, as we gather in this sacred space, may we find solace and strength through the practice of connection and nurturing our inner selves. Grant us the wisdom to recognize the transformative power of spiritual practice in our lives. May our practices be a beacon of light, guiding us through uncertainty and turmoil. May we hold in our hearts all those who are experiencing pain and hardship, from the distant corners of the world to the communities in our own midst. May our prayers be a source of comfort and hope. May our actions be guided by compassion. In the words of Rumi, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." May we embrace our wounds as opportunities for growth and transformation, trusting in the inherent goodness of existence. And may we, through our spiritual practices, become vessels of love and grace, bringing healing and wholeness wherever we go. May our hearts be open to receive peace. Blessed be, and may it be so. Will you please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing hymn number 131, "Love Will Guide Us."
Love will guide us, peace has tried. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
Blessed is the path on which you travel. Blessed is the body that carries you upon it. Blessed is your heart that has heard the call. Blessed is your mind that discerns the way. Blessed is the gift you will receive by going. Truly blessed is the gift that you will become on the journey. May you go forth in peace. Amen.
Let us call it a blessing. Call out a blessing, 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 call out, call out a blessing, call out.